You know what she used to say every morning, Hazel? The old man's voice barely rose above a whisper. She'd say, "The coffee tastes better when someone's waiting for it." The golden retriever tilted her head, one ear lifting slowly, as if she understood every word. Emmett Calloway set his mug on the porch railing and looked out at the empty yard. 60 years old, retired carpenter, owner of more silence than a man should ever have to hold alone. He hadn't slept well in 14 months. Not since the night Dorothy took her last breath in the upstairs room, with the quilt she'd sewn herself pulled up to her chin and her hand resting in his. Hazel had been Dorothy's idea. "You're going to need company," Dorothy had told him in those final weeks, her voice already thin as paper. "Not the kind that calls on Sundays, the kind that stays." Emmett hadn't understood then. He did now. Hazel had arrived as an 8-week-old pup, a gift arranged by Dorothy herself through a breeder 2 towns over. The paperwork had already been signed, the deposit paid, everything organized quietly, without a word, because that was Dorothy's way. She planned for the mornings she wouldn't be there to see. So now Emmett went nowhere without her. The hardware store, the post office, the farmer's market on Route 9 every Saturday. Hazel rode in the truck's passenger seat with her nose pressed to the cracked window. And Emmett drove with one hand resting near her back, not quite touching, just close. People noticed. His neighbor, Rhonda Thatcher, noticed first, a woman in her mid-50s, with reading glasses always perched on her head, and a garden that she tended like a second career. Rhonda had watched Emmett from across the fence for months, worried in the quiet way neighbors worry, from a careful distance. "He doesn't talk much anymore," she told her friend Carlene over the phone one evening. "He just walks that dog, every single day. Same path, same time, like he's waiting for something." Carlene, who ran the small diner on Birch Street, had her own observations. Emmett came in every Thursday morning. He always took the corner booth. He always ordered black coffee and wheat toast. And Hazel always lay beneath the table, with her chin on his shoe. "He's lonely," Carlene had told her waitress, Petra, one Thursday after he left. Petra, 24 and newer to reading people, had nodded without thinking much of it. But then came the afternoon, everything quietly shifted. It was a Wednesday in October. The leaves were turning that deep amber color that made the whole town feel like it was on the edge of something. Emmett had stopped at the farmer's market, Hazel on her leash, when a young boy, maybe 7, crouched down right in the middle of the walkway and pressed both hands gently against Hazel's face. "She's so soft," the boy breathed. "Her name's Hazel," Emmett said. The boy looked up. "Why Hazel?" Emmett was quiet for a moment. "It was my wife's favorite color, the color of leaves just before they let go." The boy's mother, standing nearby, looked at Emmett with an expression he hadn't seen in a long time. Not pity. Something quieter than that. Recognition. She touched her son's shoulder. "Thank the man, Owen." "Thank you," Owen said seriously, still holding Hazel's ears. Emmett almost smiled. It reached his eyes, just barely. "She thanks you too." He walked home slower than usual that afternoon. That evening, Rhonda appeared at his door with a covered dish. "I made too much stew," she said, which was not true, and both of them knew it. "Come in, then." She sat at his kitchen table while Hazel circled her feet, and Emmett poured 2 glasses of water, because he had no idea what else to offer. And Rhonda looked around the kitchen, at the handmade cabinet doors, the dovetail joints on the shelves, the small carved wooden bird on the windowsill, and said softly, "You made all of this." "Years ago," he said. "It's beautiful, Emmett." He sat down across from her. Neither of them spoke for a while. Hazel settled between their chairs. "She picked the dog," Emmett finally said. "Dorothy, before she went. She arranged everything. I didn't even know until after." Rhonda didn't rush to fill the silence. "She knew I wouldn't do it myself," he continued. "She knew I'd just close up. So she made sure I'd have someone who needed walking, someone who needed feeding, someone who'd look at me every morning like I was the whole world." His voice caught. She gave me a reason to leave the house. That's what Hazel is. That's what she's always been. Rhonda pressed her hand flat on the table. Not on his hand, just near it. Close. She knew you better than you knew yourself, she said quietly. She always did. Weeks passed, then months. Carlene started setting out a small water bowl near the diner door on Thursdays. She never mentioned it. One morning Emmett came in and saw it, and stood there a moment without speaking. When he sat down, he looked across at her behind the counter. You didn't have to, he said. I know, she said, and brought him his coffee. Petra, who had once assumed Emmett was simply lonely, watched this and began to understand something she hadn't before. That carrying someone with you, in a name, in a habit, in a dog who sleeps on your feet, isn't loneliness. It's the longest, quietest kind of love. It was Rhonda who eventually found the small notebook, tucked inside the cabinet Emmett was repairing in her hallway one afternoon. It had slipped out of his jacket pocket without either of them noticing. She almost set it aside, but the cover had one line written on it in a woman's handwriting. Delicate, unhurried. For when you forget that you're still worth something. Rhonda stood very still. Inside in that same handwriting were pages of small notes. Reminders, observations, gentle instructions. Hazel likes her ears rubbed when it thunders. You make the best porch coffee. Don't skip breakfast. Let people in, Emmett. They want to. She closed the notebook carefully and set it on the cabinet where he'd find it. She never said a word about it. But something changed in Emmett after that day. Not suddenly, not dramatically, slowly. The way a door that has been shut a long time begins to ease open, one quiet inch at a time. He started talking more at Carlene's diner. He helped Owen's mother carry groceries to her car one Saturday at the market, Hazel trotting alongside. He fixed Rhonda's back gate without being asked, and when she came out to thank him, he just shrugged and said, Dorothy always said a person should leave things better than they found them. One evening, sitting on his porch as the sun dropped below the tree line, Emmett looked down at Hazel. She was watching him with that steady, warm attention she always gave, like he was the most important thing in the world. She was right about you, he told her softly. She was right about most things. Hazel rested her chin on his knee. Emmett placed his hand gently on her back. The coffee does taste better when someone's waiting for it. And for the first time in a long time, he meant it. Some people carry their loved ones forward, not in grief, but in gentleness. Not in absence, but in every small, quiet act of kindness they pass on to the world. Because the ones who love us best don't just leave us with memories, they leave us with reasons. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.